Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Frazier, and today we'll be talking about the Information Systems Security Policy for Lotus Manufacturing. So today we'll be discussing the purpose, scope, and objectives, network management, security principles and practices, cryptographic protocols, tools, techniques, cryptography-based security mechanisms, and logical access control methods. So the main purpose of this policy is just to outline a set of acceptable use of computer equipment and other devices owned or distributed by Lotus Manufacturing. The scope encompasses all employees, contractors, and other partners, as well as ensuring they're responsible for exercising best judgment and appropriate use of equipment. And lastly, the main objective is to provide a secure work environment that promotes efficiency and cooperation at Lotus Manufacturing. So starting off with network management, network security challenges that may persist in a network is unauthorized access, malware or phishing attempts, outdated software or unsecured devices, and insider threats. However, to combat these challenges, firewalls, intrusion prevention detection systems, or virtual private networks can be used. User training, so keeping users up to date on the types of attacks or phishing attempts that they might be subjected to when using company-owned systems, as well as what sites to stay away from. And then lastly, ensuring that software and hardware are updated and checked on regularly, and that audits and inspections are done routinely to ensure that employees and work centers are complying with these regulations. So for security principles and practices, for the environment, it's important to secure doors, safes, and other mediums used to store sensitive information within the data center or the server room, as well as preventing workplace hazards that could potentially impact safety or efficiency. For hardware, it's important to use encryption and make sure that they're stored in approved storage containers. For software, it's important to make sure it's updated regularly and to restrict access so that only authorized users can modify or install these softwares. And lastly, as discussed earlier, human aspect. So it's important to maintain annual training that covers current or emerging cyber threats, as well as secure and authentication methods such as badges, usernames, or passwords. So for cryptography tools, usually they are a set of software or hardware used to secure data and communication through the implementation of cryptographic algorithms. TLS and SSL are some common protocols that are used to secure communication between a server and a client. And lastly, there can be symmetric encryption, which utilizes the same key for both encryption and decryption, or asymmetric encryption, which can use a public and private key for encryption and decryption. So for cryptographic mechanisms, typically any module, device, or process that is used for confidentiality, integrity, and authentication, as well as access control. Some of the strengths include keeping unauthorized users out of the network or the environment. However, if these algorithms are outdated, they can increase threat levels, as well as if human errors, so in configuring, or if employees are telling each other or causing data leaks personally. And lastly, for logical access control methods, so passwords, something that you know, must be complex and updated in regular intervals, as well as having a maximum amount of passwords in a set given amount of time, so they can't be reused multiple times. Next, smart cards, something that you have, physical means of authentication typically used with something you know, like a PIN or a password. Tokens, they provide a temporary code for access, such as a one-time PIN or anything that requires another medium to gain access into a system. And for biometrics, it's something that you are, so it could be facial recognition, fingerprint scanners, or your gait. And lastly, for cryptography, involves encryption, keys that allow authorized personnel to access data or systems. That wraps up the policy, and thank you.